Welcome to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. I'm Ted Bonnet.
I'm Phil Proctor, and we're broadcasting live from New York City.
Live on tape.
That's right. Well, please, don't confuse them.
This is the first time that the Sexy Boomer Show has traveled.
That's true.
We're here at our both of our hometowns.
Yep, I grew up here from 1945 about to now. I'm still growing.
You're still growing up.
Yeah.
We're here at Sue Media in the wonderfully fascinating Tesla building.
Radio Waves
Yes,
building.
where radio was physically invented.
By
Really?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And we're talking with Tulis McCall.
Here I am.
Of course, I don't know which Tulis McCall I'm talking to right now. Is this the real you, or is this a character that you've created?
Ooh, dear.
A good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
He asks all the guests that
God,
question.
does he really?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, he doesn't. Tulis and I go back a ways. Tulis was living in Los Angeles, California, doing her one-woman show.
you and your beautiful wife came to see
My
it back
beautiful
in
wife, Melinda
89.
Peterson, right? Did she introduce us? Was it?
You
true?
just hung around afterwards, and the stage
Yeah.
manager came and said, Phil Proctor is here. He wants to meet you. Now, I have a cousin named Phil Proctor.
No, you're kidding.
So I said, my cousin's here? And he said, no, Phil Proctor. You know how they do? No, Phil Proctor. I said, I heard you. I know what you said. That's my cousin. He went, no, it's not. It's Phil Proctor. I said, help. And he went, Firesign Theater. And I went, oh, my God.
Oh,
So I went out.
I was your god,
You were.
Not
You
your
were. I went
cousin.
out and met the two of you, and we stayed in touch.
and we have been friends ever since.
That's true.
And we've been creative partners.
Yes.
As well. I got to direct you in a wonderful one-woman show that you did called Running with Scissors.
Yes.
That's a great title.
And now here in New York, you moved back to New York from you're from Connecticut, went out to L.A., now you're back in New York. Why did you come back to New York?
9/11.
Ah,
Yeah, I couldn't stand not being here anymore. I said,
Interesting.
I have to go back. And I just missed it so much. I think I never had a delightful job in LA, and I think without that it can be a really tough.
it can be very
Town.
lonely in Los Angeles.
In LA, I never knew when I was leaving my apartment, was it going to take me an hour to get someplace?
That's exactly what
or
I
it
was
could
going to
take
say.
me 2 hours to
Yeah,
get someplace.
if you move the letters of Los Angeles around, it spells legs on sale, because you have to have a car.
That's true.
To do anything.
Yeah.
And that means you're not walking in the middle of a lot of people,
Yeah.
who you can talk to or,
I've
bump into.
I've met more people since I came back, probably almost as many as I ever met in LA.
Now, it's been the longest I've ever been away, 10 years. And just yesterday alone, I had at least 5 spontaneous, wonderful conversations with strangers in appropriate settings, because New
A
York...
bar, you mean a bar, right?
No,
just walking around.
Just walking
okay.
around.
Yeah.
We met Calvin at Grand Central Station.
Yeah.
I thought it was helping people find their way in Grand
Oh,
Central.
right. Yeah.
And he took a special caring for us, evidently.
Yeah, it was
But
very
anyway, the
sweet.
point is that that's what I miss about New York, is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
spontaneity, which always, I wondered about that. It's like, well, the city moves as fast as you can go.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a fast-running river. So conversations, by virtue, are in passing, and it's an art with strangers. And
Yes,
that's
yes.
what I miss in L.A.
Yeah.
I do miss that in L.A. And New York looks better than ever. I'm so impressed by... I know there are a lot of issues going on, but...
Yeah, there's a lot of fear
but-
and a lot of crime.
Yeah,
Everybody
but as a
talks about.
superficial tourist, the place looks beautiful. And
Yeah.
speaking of, you said 9/11, first day here, I spent down in Lower Manhattan, and I'm so impressed by how great Lower Manhattan
Right.
looks.
Did you
It's just
go to
beautiful.
the memorial and all?
I did that the last time I was here.
Uh-huh.
This time I went to the Museum of the American Indian in the old.
Oh, yeah. In the counting.
in the
I call it
customs
the
building.
Yeah.
Which is
Customs.
fitting also because my friend over here is of Dutch ancestry, and he just revealed to me he's got a little Indian in him, too.
My ancestors came over in 1632 as French Huguenots from Holland.
Uh-huh.
And they had 5 acres of farmland on Wall Street. And he was a wall commissioner, started the first
No.
public school in America.
Wow.
And and the wall was put up to keep the livestock in and the Indians out. Jumped the fence, went up to about 23rd Street, East 23rd, where the Lenape tribe was. Somebody got pregnant, and that's why I have Lenape blood in me.
Get out of
Isn't that
here.
something?
Go figure.
Now,
He is
what's
so
your,
shishy.
Your background is, of course, Irish, Tulis, right?
Really? Come on. You're a Lenape. Everybody wants to be Lenape.
Who doesn't
now
want to
that
be
we-
Lenape?
Now that, right. There's an actual museum now.
Of the Lenape?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is an extinct tribe.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to bring back the language
Yeah.
and it's in all the playbills. You know, we acknowledge that we are on.
Oh, yeah.
Lenape
That's
land.
What do you think of that?
I
What
think
do you think?
it's a little. I'm trying to think. Gauche.
Precious?
It's just precious. Yeah. It's just we're acknowledging that we're on land that was stolen from you.
Yeah.
Okay, here comes Act One. You know, it's just not.
We're talking theater, which is
Yep.
an excellent segue because this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You talk theater and cabaret.
I've done two or three cabaret shows. I haven't gone to so many. I just had the urge to do it a couple of years ago.
Well, and you're a monologist,
Yeah.
and you assembled a group of other monologists and would have evenings of
Yeah,
of
we did
people reading their
monologues and
material.
madness at the
monologues and madness.
Cornelia Street Cafe. We did that 13 years, and then
Wow.
it closed, so we moved over to Pangea, which is a cabaret nightclub on the east side.
Pangea.
And then they
Early
said,
country.
we've got other people, go away.
Oh.
And so we were about to open it, Don't Tell Mama, but then,
That's the name of a place. Don't tell Mama.
yeah,
Love
yeah,
it.
on 46th. Sidney Meyer is the Duomo there.
Artistic
Duomo?
director.
Head guy.
Duoma.
Duoma.
Oh, if it's a guy,
It's a guy.
it's a Duomo.
Okay. He runs it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Major Domo, that's what I
Major
mean.
Domo.
Domo.
The
that's
Duomo
it.
is the cathedral.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And Dumbo
he's the,
is
he's
the movie. I
cathedral
got it.
up
I know.
at
Wow.
So
Don't Tell
that's
Mama.
where you're doing the shows now?
No, I haven't done my voice coach was murdered. And
I
that
know
What?
you told me this extraordinary
this was
story.
This is
she was
the
Barbara.
woman.
Yeah, Barbara Mayer Guster.
Yes.
Somebody just walked over and shoved her to the ground, and she hit her head and died 5 days later. So that
know.
just kind of took the
Gosh.
wind out of my sails. But I'm getting.
Sure.
I want to do it.
Good.
I want to do it some.
All right, so
again.
let's
But
talk
anyway.
about you online, because you created, and I want to know how it started, a website which is reviewing everything that's happening in New York.
Yeah, we've got
Broadway,
20 writers
off-Broadway,
now. I think.
cabaret.
Yeah, it's called the Front Row Center.
.com.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
which, as we know, is the worst place in the world to sit, but it sounds really good, doesn't it? Because you're looking right up their skirts, and gosh, who doesn't want to do that? But it sounds good.
Yeah, your
Sounds
spit
good.
take close.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been doing that?
20 years.
Wow.
Along the lines of a timeout approach to what's happening in New York, you're covering the scene.
Well, the way it happened was I moved back here. I had a dog and 2 cats, and I got an office job. And I would come home and walk my dog and
Talk to your cats.
it was a go out. No, I'm not gonna. Then she passed away, so then I started volunteer ushering, which you can do at the off-Broadway places like Playwrights Horizon,
great.
Signature, Manhattan Theater Club, and then off Broadway
Uh-huh.
as well. And the first play I saw was so bad that I wrote to people and said, Don't
go.
No. This is so bad.
Public service.
It was yeah, and I can't remember the name of the woman who was in it, but it was
Lucky for her.
it was about a woman who had a blind date on 9/11
Oh.
and went through,
Was it a musical?
a rom-com.
and she was out in St. Paul or something, but
Oh, my
she was
Lord.
nervous about. You found out she was nervous about her sister, but she said, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead with this blind date." Really? The rest of us weren't. So, whoa.
Right.
And then her aunt showed up as Joyce Carol Oates, but it was a sock puppet.
Oh no! Oh no!
So this is
This
where
this
an
is-
empire was born.
Yeah, right. I'm watching this going. I moved back from L.A., and this is the first thing. And this woman who ran the sock puppet had on a long, dark T-shirt and nothing else. Now, we know that. because when she reached over the couch to pick up something from the back of the couch,
You saw the back of her couch.
yep,
And
pretty
you were
much.
front row center.
Right. But I wrote to people and I said, just go buy your sweetheart a hot fudge sundae because I feel very protective about theater. I either want to go, you have to go see this, or I'm going to stand there and set myself on fire and say, don't go in there.
But your website is very revealing because you will tell people why they shouldn't go to a certain play.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot about theater reading how does it work?
We get about 5,000 hits a month, I think.
Now, do they pay something for this?
No, not at the
Well,
moment.
what's the matter
I'd like
with
to.
you?
I know exactly. I'd love to figure out a way to make money off of
monetize
it, and
it?
I just don't.
Tell them to pay $1 a person. Yeah.
There you go. Every
See?
time you open that up,
You can buy cat food with that.
I could,
If you really think this place sucks, you should give us money.
because I just saved you
Yeah, 'cause
saved you a lot of money.
$175.
Speaking of that, my goodness, Broadway is expensive these
Oh,
days.
it's horrible.
I saw Merrily We Roll Along. I have to admit, it was worth the $350 that I paid for
That's
a seat.
insane.
But that's insane. And I imagine now, but the house was packed.
Right.
Then with the $500 seats down front, and people tell me, well, they must obviously just save up to see something like that.
And they end up seeing one play a year.
Yeah, I guess. It's just so shocking. I couldn't afford to go to the theater.
No.
So I get to go because I get complimentary tickets.
Now, are you now consider yourself a theatrical critic?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It just sort of happened. This year, we got on the Broadway League press list, which is a big deal.
Oh, good.
I didn't even know that there was a thing, and people kept saying, you're not on the list. I went, okay.
So you're sort of the accidental critic.
Yes. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you said you have how many writers?
20. They get free tickets.
And how
They
did
don't
you,
get
How
paid.
did you find them?
Email blast. Just anybody who's interested,
Really?
blah, blah, blah.
You reached out to the general public?
Yeah.
Or she'd be going past the theater and somebody would be out there going, please don't go in there.
You're coming with me. Come with me, my darling.
I remember once when we were, my wife, Melinda Peterson, my late wife, we were in London and we saw a particular play that really tickled her, and she wrote a review, which you accepted as part of it. I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about the evolution of Broadway now?
Well, I'm astonished at the prices. But, Mel Brooks was the first one to crack $100 with the producers. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that was also 25 years ago. So I think it's appalling.
It's happening because it's so expensive to put shows on, they tell me. $12 million it costs to put a show on. Off-Broadway, I was with a friend of mine, Eddie Gaines, who owns a theater down on 47th Street, the Actors Temple Theater. And he was telling me that off-Broadway now can cost $2 million to produce an off-Broadway show. How, where does that money come from?
I don't know anyone who's actively involved in it, but I was listening to a podcast the other day with a casting director from Playwrights Horizon, and she said, we have to make sure that young people get into the theater.
Yes.
Evidently, the younger folks are not buying into the subscription model.
Well, and also since the death of George Floyd, everybody has gotten on the bandwagon about doing plays that are by minorities.
That's right.
And I say yahoo for that.
Yep.
But your older subscribers don't know who they are.
That's right.
Wow.
So
So,
if
you think that's
that's? I think I'm going to be surprised to see how long it lasts. And then they'll go, oh, geez, nobody came to the theater.
I
Guess
see
we'll
what you're
go back
saying.
to Tennessee Williams. Would not be surprised.
Well, speaking of that, we're going to be seeing our dear mutual friend Austin Pendleton
yes.
tonight, presently in rehearsal for Night of the Iguana
Right.
by Mr. Williams.
I mean, I think bringing in minorities, including older women, thank you, is a great idea.
Sure.
But if that's what because there were plays that opened and closed. There were 5 black plays
Wow.
that closed on Broadway this spring. Boom, 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 boom. and there haven't been any that. Well, Jaja's hair salon, that was one. But there was, the piano lesson. My God, I can't even think of the others. But I wrote a stinking piece about it and said,
What happened?
they're just, boom, gone. Okay.
You're listening to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. Our guest, Tulis McCall. We're talking about New York theater and cabaret. We walked across the street and looked at a price for Harmony, and we said no problem getting an $18 ticket tonight. It's a Friday night.
Yeah, we went to the box office.
And tomorrow. She's no problem, $18, matinee, whatever you need. $18.
$18.
No problem on a Friday and Saturday.
Where did you go? The box office?
Yeah, right to the box office.
I didn't know about that.
And evidently, according to our Eddie Gaines, the matinee business is stronger than the night business.
Because people don't want to be out at night.
Because New York is scary to a lot of people now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you see all this?
Well, I get tired. So,
Yeah.
so
it's the
like,
elder.
wait a minute, I'm supposed to stay awake until 8?
I
Oh.
think a lot of habits changed with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Being home for 3 years, it's hard to kind of go back out there.
But I think I think people are coming back. I was also going to mention there are, I didn't know about those $18 tickets. I'll have to go ask them.
Yeah,
But that's a great thing to know about.
it is.
But TDF,
Yep.
Theater Development Fund, I looked today. Let me see if I can find it. Just wanted to see how many Broadway shows were on TDF, and it's easy to get the tickets.
And what is TDF? Is this a
Theater
discount ticket?
Theater Development Fund.
Which is a discount ticket?
Yeah, and there's a whole list of categories, but one of them is you can be self-employed. Well, okay, so that means everybody can get on the list. Right, it's $42 for the year, but this is what they've got. They've got Some Like It Hot, Kimberly Akimbo, which is adorable,
Adorable. We love that show.
Shucked, Spam-A-Lot, How to Dance in Ohio, which I haven't seen, but I'm going to. It's the story of autistic high school students getting ready to go to a prom.
Oh, wow.
And all the actors are on the spectrum.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
Also, Hades Town.
Uh-huh.
And then there's something called Audience Reward. There's Today Ticks. So there are a lot of ways to
get discount tickets.
get in to see things.
My casual observance in Los Angeles, that the theaters are pretty light for movies. That hasn't come back.
Yeah.
People just don't want to go out, and of course you have the streaming choices, and you have home video that they're competing against. Is that the same thing, generally speaking, for live entertainment here?
Yeah, I think it's coming. It's coming back. The stuff that I saw, Hell's Kitchen, I could get it for you wholesale. They were packed, and Hell's Kitchen is charging. It's the most expensive ticket they've had at the public.
Really?
It's $175.
What's the trend now theatrically in New York? What's hot? What's not?
Oh gosh.
A lot of revivals of musicals, I know.
Well, yeah, Spam-A-Lot came back, and they're doing that Merrily We Roll Along. But
Chicago.
Yep,
is playing.
but that's been playing for
The
30 years.
Long time.
But I think Merrily We Roll Along, everybody's they're going to go see Harry Potter.
To explain to our audience, the actor who played
Daniel
Harry
Radcliffe.
Potter, yes, is in this wonderful Stephen Sondheim revival.
Right.
And at the same time, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child
Is running.
is playing in another theater.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
And he's a worker bee. I've
wonderful.
I've
He's
seen a
doing
lot of his
wonderful
work, and
performer.
he's
Celebrity sells.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. If it was another person?
And I'll tell you,
I don't know.
the other show that I'd recommend to anybody is the revival of Sweeney Todd with the Charles Grodin. Is that his name?
No, it's
Something. Well,
It's him.
Yeah, it's a terrible
but
name.
Sutton Foster's going to be joining the cast.
Well, it's wonderful. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it exciting?
I didn't like it.
Good.
I just I
Oh, we
I
loved
went
it.
home and put on the CD of
George Hearn or something.
yeah, and come on, Murder She Wrote.
Oh,
Angela Lansbury.
Lansbury. Right.
Yeah, which I preferred. And I saw a wonderful production downtown a few years ago at a very small theater where they made it into a shop for meat pies.
Oh, really? That sounds fascinating.
And so, but when that guy showed up, it was like, please don't come over to my table. I really don't want you here. As he just walked around and looked at people like, I've got a knife and I'm thinking
Not afraid
about
to use it.
I'm
I'm
hungry,
thinking
right.
about filleting something. I mean, he was Josh Groban.
That's
Groban.
it. Josh
He
Groban.
He didn't terrify me,
I see.
and I think that's where you want to go. I
Well,
mean,
but that's what
it's-
theater's all about.
Yeah.
Are there new methods, presentation that reflects 2023 to bring audiences back? You know how obviously movie theaters always up their game to keep people coming. Are the theaters able to do that?
You're talking about stagecraft, really.
Stagecraft, yeah.
I don't know of anything, but I know that there's a lot of stuff happening off and off Broadway, and names. I mean, Alicia Keys. That show is going to. I think it's going to go to Broadway. It's at the Public Theater right now. It's about her growing up, and they took her music and wrapped it all up in a story.
Good.
And sometimes it works, sometimes I don't think it does. But the talent is extraordinary, and there were no big stars. Alicia Keys is the star, and she has been in on the producing end of it.
Yeah,
right
good.
from the jump. She's been working on it for 10 years, so she's putting her butt on the line. And she has such an extraordinary following that they're going to come and see it. Same with Barry Manilow.
This is the musical Harmony,
Yeah.
which Ted and I hope to see tonight, actually.
Oh, okay.
About the comedian harmonists, which was a singing group in Germany that was very wildly successful. And I bought their records myself, but of course, and until Hitler showed up.
Right.
And there were some Jews singing in the group. And
Yeah,
that
three.
Was three.
3 Jews, 3 goys.
Oy,
Unbelievable.
oy.
I thought it was going to be Barry Manilow's
Music?
his stuff, his
yeah.
well-known songs. I don't read anything before I go see a show.
Right.
I
good
just
for you.
show up and, because otherwise Uncle Sam wants you to vote
Predisposed.
Catholic, and, it's like...
Right.
But I was sitting in front of Barry Manilow groupies.
Oh.
And let me tell you, those women are cutthroat. They know all about him. They know how it opened in La Jolla. That was back in '97, and things didn't go well,
Were
did
they second row center?
They, as a matter of fact, they were about 4th or 5th. And they knew everything.
Wow.
And how somebody had, they had lost the money to produce it, and that was terrible for Barry. Barry was heartbroken about that.
Oh.
I mean, he's got groupies, and they know
Everything about it.
they just know everything about him. So what he does, that's and it's a true story, and blah 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 blah. But they're diehard. So Alicia Keys groupies are in their 20s, and these women are my age. So, but they're just meow. So. And it's always this is actually a hot time, ticket wise.
Right.
You got to make it through.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Nothing
And
like
then-
being in New York for Christmas. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
yeah. It's really the tree and all the stuff on Fifth Avenue, and
What show do you like right now? What do you think is a really special show people should see?
let me see if I wrote anything down here because I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'll tell you the one. This is a woman who's a cabaret performer. Her name is Marilyn May. She's 96.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I read about this.
This
on
is
your
just,
site.
she's going to be at Birdland for New Year's.
Oh, my goodness.
She is the most extraordinary performer. So she's always I've probably seen her about 10 times, but every time I do, I just end up, sobbing into my soup. Because, there she is, this 96-year-old woman, and she sings, I'll be wearing ribbons down my back. And just, fine, great. Which is a song about a teenager looking for love at the state fair. And you just go, oh, God, how does she do that? So she's absolutely on the top of my list.
So she's able to share her experience in life with an audience.
Yeah,
with that
but
range of
it's in the
songs.
performance. She talks very little about her life.
Yeah.
But It's the
It's
whole
all
thing.
in the performance.
The other thing I would recommend is All the Devils Are Here with Patrick Page.
Oh, I've heard about that.
It's,
Yes.
but I'm not that crazy about Shakespeare. I mean, it's the same thing over and over again,
Verily.
Verily.
Forsooth.
She loses the scarf. He gets mad. She's off. Can't they? What? But he went into great detail, and so it's this sort of. It's over at the DR2 Theater, and he goes into sort of. It's a little bit like a lecture, but with acting. So what he says is that
Is it a one-man show?
yeah,
Well,
is
all
that
the Devil's Men
yeah, all the devils are here.
are here.
And he talks about the fact that Shakespeare was the first person to create layered villains. Because when he was coming up, they had the touring theaters and his father
that's right.
was a constable or something. But it was, I can't pay the rent. I'll pay the rent.
Right.
And it was all about morality, and
Melodrama.
we hope that you get over being a mean person and find God. And he said, no. He just started pulling it apart so that there were all these layers, and no one had done that before. And he just got more brave and deeper and deeper. And he said, until he hit Macbeth. And after Macbeth, he was done because there was so much evil.
Yeah.
And we got to see it. And he's done all this research. And so it really, first of all, the guy's smart as a whip. So, but he's also entertaining.
This is the performer. What's his name?
Patrick Page.
Patrick
You
Page.
would know him. He does a lot of TV work, and he has this great deep voice. He was in Hadestown. Did you see Hadestown?
No, darn it, I haven't seen Hades.
He was the original bad guy.
Okay. Did he write this piece himself?
Well, he created the narration, and then he performs
Pieces
several.
of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. And you could probably get $18 tickets for it, what I'm saying.
There's another play that we were thinking of seeing. I want to ask you about called The Mind Mangler, by the people who did the show that goes wrong.
I
The play
think
Goes
one
Wrong.
of my reviewers just saw it and he liked it.
He liked it.
But I get into the editing mode and I just go, check, okay, publish, we're out of here. So I'm pretty sure he did like it.
Okay.
What is cabaret as you see it? What is a classic cabaret show?
Well, there's a wonderful guy named Tim Connell who I've seen over the years and who is just getting better and better and better. Beautiful Irish tenor voice. And last time I saw him, he was doing medleys, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
And I think people, it's such a simple format. It's usually one person and a microphone
and a
and
piano.
a piano player.
Right.
Sometimes they'll have more
Augmented
musicians,
the
but
bass or something.
not
Not very
necessarily.
much.
So it really kind of goes back to, sitting around the fire.
Yeah, it's intimate.
Somebody wants to sing you a song, and everybody
So an
shuts up.
invigorating lounge act.
Yeah. Lounge act. Ooh,
I love that.
that sounds like something out of
because I
Saturday Night Live, when he
is.
sang the
Right.
Well, you
Star
imagine-
Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
the cabaret, the movie Cabaret.
Yeah.
You think of the grandness of decadent Germany and Weimar Republic, but is there any relationship to the real cabaret scene?
Is it political? Is that what you're asking?
Well, just the cabaret, the movie Cabaret, which I saw on a Pan Am flight flying back from Berlin, which was
Ach du Liebe.
Ooh.
yeah. I've seen Cabaret, but it's really an area I haven't spent a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought you being somebody in the front row, center, could explain better.
Well, a lot of it can be deadly boring because I've seen people who think, patter is really the way to go. So and then this happened and that happened. I don't want to go into it right now. But on the other hand, it's like, no, we came here to frickin' hear you sing. So you're doing that well. Just do it. And then I've seen Alan Cumming a few times, who is brilliant, but also very, very relaxed,
Yeah.
very funny. He just did a show with Ari from NPR.
Oh.
Well,
That guy.
yeah, that guy.
Glass?
That's
You're talking about
Ira Glass.
Ira Glass. No.
You got your
Yeah,
vowels
okay.
mixed up. It was close. It was close.
There's a little vowel movement there.
I've seen shows at the Carlisle Cafe.
Buster Poindexter?
No, I haven't seen him. I did see quite a bit of. Yep. See, it just gone. I saw Molly Ringwald there one time. She was astonishing.
Really?
Yeah, she had a brilliant arranger.
Oh, my.
Do you know the history of cabaret? What is the art form of cabaret? What is the style of it?
I don't know. That would be a great. I should do some research. Shouldn't I?
That is
I really
a
should.
good question.
But I don't know.
I do know that in the Eastern European countries, when they were under Soviet dominance, cabaret was a political outlet because they would design a song or a skit or something so that it was funny, but it had a hidden meaning that the censors couldn't get.
Right.
And so, in a way, what I'm saying is cabaret it's a people's form of theater. It's more affordable. You're usually drinking or having a bite to eat while you're watching. It's intimate, and somebody's letting you into their world.
Yeah.
In an interesting way.
It's not a lounge act.
Right. Good cabaret is
You
not
know,
a
Mr.
lounge act.
Bonnet. I don't want to upset you there, but it's also not a nightclub.
Right.
You know, because
Yeah.
I think nightclub will think we're thinking Frank Sinatra out
Yeah.
at the Sands Hotel, and it's a
Yeah.
It's a big
huge
event. Big
amphitheater. So these rooms are, gosh, if you get 50, that's kind of an average size, and they seem to be. Especially Don't Tell Mama, because Sydney does an extraordinary job curating it. I mean, it's everything from soup to nuts. Tomorrow night I'm seeing a woman, Lynn Henderson, in her 80s. And then, they could have a tuba player on the next time.
No
It's just,
kidding. Oh,
you
that's
don't.
wild.
Are these performers unique to the medium, or are they Broadway performers as well? Or
It's both.
uh-huh.
It's both. Mostly unique to the medium. But if somebody's like the Judy Benko, she was the understudy for Funny Girl. And she's been doing cabaret with her husband. One night here, one night there. The woman who wrote The Rose, that woman, you know her. She does a lot of cabaret over at Birdland, which has 2 rooms.
So Birdland is interesting. I think of it as a jazz club, but then again, I've been gone a long time.
Right.
But it is a.
Well, it's both. I mean, it's not a jazz club in the way of when I used to go to jazz clubs, people would talk during the,
Yeah.
can
that's
we
right.
have that? Now we're smoking cigarettes
Lounge
and all
act.
that. Yeah,
Lounge act.
But they're much more polite. And there's the Green Room 42 and Birdland and this Pangea.
That's the one up on the roof, the Rainbow Room. No, that's in LA.
Yeah.
No,
it's still there, but I don't know.
It is the Rainbow Room.
Yeah.
on top of Rockefeller Center.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Cabaret also has groupies. Okay, a friend of mine was doing a cabaret act with his wife, and my wife and I were there for this evening, and he sang a song that went something like this: "We're going to Vermont, and we have to bring our glasses," and everybody would applaud. It was like some song that they all knew that made no sense to us at all, and represented the groupie element to it.
Yeah. Well, they need groupies because it's a tiny little house, and you want to fill it, and you gotta.
Is it a dying art form?
I don't think so.
No,
It's
never does.
No,
It's just motors along.
I think so. I mean, I've been going to more of it, and now I'm thinking about doing it again. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
No, I thought it would be a piece of cake. Wrong. How about wrong?
In actually doing it, you mean yourself?
Yeah. Well, what I did was Austin Pendleton was directing it. And I said, I'm thinking of doing, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, just call it Tulis Talks and Sings. I said, really, Austin? He said, well, that's what you're doing. I said, that's true. So I did monologues between the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did about 8 songs, and I did about 6 or 7 different monologues that tied to the songs.
How'd they go?
It wasn't Patter, was it?
No.
If I slap him,
I'm just trying to keep up here.
patter less, as we say in the
Actually,
business.
structured material. It's wonderful.
Actually,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
And did it work?
I think it did. And
Good.
And then I thought, oh, okay, this is what I want to do with my voice now. I'm focusing, and then, boom, then she.
Well, it's a one-woman show.
Yeah. Well, that's what I do a lot.
Yep.
And I did it with Philip, and I had,
Yep.
and then Austin directed one here that was all about waking up and going, What do you mean I'm this age? I'm sorry, what?
Uh-huh. And you do.
I'd like to get off and go back, and they go, no, sorry.
And you also do Monday musings.
Yes,
Which are
I'm
online.
totally enjoying.
And that's a bonus from Front Row Center, isn't it? Or is it separate from that? You send it out to your subscribers.
It's a separate deal.
What is that?
Very entertaining. They're little essays that she performs, little monologues,
Audio essays.
about life, all different kinds of aspects of life and growing old.
And how do we find that?
You just go to tulismccall.com.
Tulismccall.com. Spelled like you'd imagine.
Tulis. 1 L? Right.
1 L.
T-U-L-I-S.
It's like tulips without the P.
Uh-huh.
McCall. MCCALL. Yes. So I forgot.
I highly recommend them. It's a wonderful way to start a week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a year, and it started out last year as part of a writing group I'm in up in Connecticut. Called the Journey Writers, and they had a prompt about turkeys.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I wrote this piece all about, I'll tell you one thing: the wild variety is
That's right.
something to be dealt with.
Yeah.
If you live near a turkey, a wild turkey, and you want to get to your car,
Yep.
you had best be.
They have attitude?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen, Melinda and I were once actually chased by a herd of wild turkeys.
My brother had one. Wouldn't let him near the car.
Really?
He had to come out with an air horn, which annoyed the neighbors, but it got rid of the...
Huh.
Yeah, but then, so it just goes on. And then at the end, she just says, well, that's all the grace I got in me today. Thank you, Lord, for everything
Anyway,
that you have given us. So
entertaining.
yeah, I've been doing them for a year now. They're about 4 minutes long. The last one was talking about the people who desecrated the public library.
I haven't heard that yet.
Who did that?
It was pro-Palestinian people.
Oh, really?
Yep. And I happen to lean in that direction that, it got to have a two-state thing, and
Yeah.
you can't do to them what Hitler did to you.
Right,
It's not adding up. But what they did was they took red paint and put their handprints all over the front of the library, the Lion Library.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to desecrate something, really, that's a church.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a church,
Yes.
and everybody gets to go there. Everybody.
It's we were at Rockefeller Center yesterday. Seems like 4 days ago, but it was yesterday, and someone was just came up to talk to us about how they were there for the tree lighting at Rockefeller Center the night before last. It was a big disruption. Palestinian protests, people got hurt, people got arrested. It was not pretty, as she said. So this is...
They were gluing themselves to the road in
I
the
know, isn't that
Thanksgiving Day
insane?
parade.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So people had to walk around them. But just, harming the library, it's like, seriously?
Not a good
What?
look.
Yeah, your supporters are going to go, oops, wrong turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
How can you... So that's what the piece was about this week.
what is it to be a New Yorker now? You've seen New York for a long time. What's it like to you? Is it the same? Is it different? Of course, it's different. But how much of it is the same? How much of it is different? How much do you like? How much do you not
I
like?
love it. I love it.
You still love it.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, if I want to feel sorry for myself and be bored, then I can't go out. I have to stay in my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Because the minute I go outside,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see a baby, I'm going to see a dog, I'm going to see something funny, I'm going to hear, and my mood will lift. I have a pretty low threshold for
Amusement.
yeah, just like, look at the sun, came up again, the same place. Unbelievable. No imagination.
Well, it was funny. I left New York. One of the reasons I left, well, because I was pitching comedy ideas, and they were saying you need to go out
You have to leave town.
You don't need to. But
Just go away.
One of the things I was doing, I was writing news at CNN, and I was walking back, and I realized I hadn't stepped off concrete in over 3 weeks. I hadn't touched dirt in 6 weeks, and I'm in New York. I love New York, but I just felt something about that was fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as much as I'm just been absolutely high on New York since I got it. I've been in total New York spirit, loving it, just thinking it's just as wonderful. And it is as wonderful as ever, given all the problems, anything. Because I was in the bad old 70s. So, this looks good.
Yeah.
But that balance of nature has become really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it, I just find it kind of very, very intense to be in the city all the time.
Yeah. Well, I live right across the street from a park, so that's
That helps.
yeah, St. Nicholas Park. I wake up in the morning and I look out at trees.
Oh, very good.
So that I could go sit in the park, I could take a walk in the park, or I could just stare at the damn trees. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think about it. Oh gosh, maybe I would like to have my little house in the country, with
little backyard.
1.5
Yeah, it's
dogs.
weird. I've always
garden.
been a social creature. I loved Manhattan and lived the life. And now I find myself really loving being in absolute quiet, where I would have thought years ago, like, why would I ever put myself all the way out there in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
And that's where I find my center. And I'm here and I'm excited about being the energy of it, but I don't know how long that would last. It's intense.
It's a much easier place to live in than it is to visit.
You think?
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
because when I'm done with this, I go home.
Yeah.
That's true.
I don't go back to a hotel room and think about I know what's in the refrigerator, or I know
Yeah.
Oh, liquor is in the refrigerator in our hotel room.
that's true,
And now,
and I know where the cats have puked, and
recreational cannabis is legal here.
yes,
There's
I think
shops
so.
all over the place.
Yeah,
And in New Jersey?
I can't remember. I just don't pay that much attention. I don't do it that much anymore. So,
I don't smell any more pot on the street than I did back in the day.
well, I have friends who can smell it, and I don't know. My sense of smell is. I was like, whoa, we got a big. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
what?
can smell, if somebody's smoking pot in a car 40 feet ahead of you, you can smell it.
True.
And there's been a kerfuffle about getting too corporate because people have, local small businesses want to be able to.
That's what I've
the
heard.
vendors.
I've heard that, when you go back to New York, it's not going to be the same. It's all that localism. It's all gone.
Little neighborhoods.
I haven't seen any newsstands.
Well, listen, Eddie Gaines, my friend. Oh, I originally worked with Eddie Gaines in The Sound of Music, and he was a little boy.
Oh God.
Okay, and I was the equity deputy. I played Rolf the Singing Nazi. You are 16, going on 17, and toured with all these wonderful kids. And Eddie was particularly one of my favorites. He's a wonderful, bright, talented boy. He's now an older man who has to speak in a whisper because he was in a terrible automobile accident that almost killed him and destroyed his larynx.
Oh, my
and
God.
He's been producing for years. But he told us a little story about how he remembers all the diners, for instance, and where they all were. And so when he's getting together with a friend, he'd say, well, go to Ray's, and then no, and he said, no, let's go over to the Carnegie, And they're all gone, of course, but they're landmarks in their minds because they remember where they were. And I'm astounded at the building that still is going
The
on in this
massive
city.
buildings that
Jesus,
are being
God
built. When
almighty.
there-
Massive.
So many residential towers being built, and yet it's the most expensive place to be because there's a shortage to this day. And I wonder, with climate change, lower Manhattan, all the subways, there's going to be major issues. And there's probably going to be some of these commercial buildings will become terraforming. And they'll probably be, everything hopefully will be more decentralized and localized.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to get produce grown in Manhattan.
Oh, yeah, that's already
Is
happening.
that already happening?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen
The,
some of those stories.
oh, God, what's the big exposition place over on?
Javits?
Yeah, they've got a garden
The
That's
Javits
right.
Center.
on the top where they cultivate bees.
Oh.
There's a lot of greening of roofs. That's a big
I
deal.
think that's brilliant.
Oh, I do too.
And more electric cars here.
And now electric buildings instead of gas buildings.
Oh, yeah.
Any new building. But the ones that I hated, those Pez buildings, right on 57th and
The
50th.
needle-like things. That's
Thank you,
so
Mike
eerie.
Bloomberg. Thank you.
Oh, the middle finger plutocrat towers.
Yeah.
Obnoxious.
Revolting. Yeah.
They're really annoying.
Just the Pez buildings.
It's like bad science
We're
fiction.
talking about these, thanks to technology, they're now able to build pencil-thin super towers.
Right.
I know someone who bought a floor, because you have to buy a floor, the first one on Park Avenue. And I think he was 430 stories up. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And he paid $75 million for the...
What a bargain.
Yeah. But it wasn't, because that kind of structure, first of all, you're going to get
Yeah,
slows in the
yeah,
wind.
they
But
swing.
secondly, there's huge logistical issues with plumbing.
Oh.
And these people
Water
bought
pressure.
these things that are like, I'm getting out of here. I can't get out. I got to get rid of this thing.
Right.
They were, and I don't know if they've
One can
repaired that,
only
fixed
hope.
that.
I just take it down.
No, this was a mistake.
I'll tell you something weird. I had an experience years ago. I traveled with Procter and Bergman, and we used to come here on a regular basis, once or twice a year. And I went down to my old neighborhood next to the just up from the White Horse Cafe in the Village on West 11th
White Horse
Street.
Tavern.
Yeah, 312 West 11th Street.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
Well, anyway, and I remember at one point they had built the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And I could see them from West 12th Street.
Yeah.
And I suddenly didn't feel like I was in a little neighborhood of Greenwich
Yeah.
Village. I felt, my little part of this big city. It was very weird. I certainly would rather have them standing there than to what happened to them, but still.
Yeah.
I thought those buildings were kind of rude when they were built.
That's kind of the way I felt. Intrusive.
But I gotta say, the other day I drove by the One World Trade Tower that replaced it,
It's very beautiful.
and I had
building.
no idea how absolutely magnificent that building is.
Yeah.
In terms of its design, but also its size, the magnitude of New York architecture is otherworldly.
Yeah.
And I also found out yesterday, you know why there are no tall buildings in lower central Manhattan?
No.
Because it was all built on swampland.
That's right.
I guess they were referring to sort of Greenwich Village and
Oh, where
maybe the lower 20s.
The brownstones.
Yeah, where the Lenape were.
Wow.
I know.
I'm really
I
impressed.
feel like we've it's been an hour. We're out of
Is
time,
it?
but it only
It's-
feels like 300 years.
Going to be very sad because I have a very funny story about.
Please.
Oh, yeah?
Oh
Yeah.
Okay. This is a story about a woman who only saw the first half of The Sound of Music because it used to come into two video cassettes.
Yeah.
And her father only owned the first one.
Okay.
So she watched the first one, and at the end of it, the Ralph comes in and things are happening and it's not good, and Julie Andrews leaves to go back to the
Right.
convent.
Right.
And she went, okay, that's
What's the end?
sad,
Good
but
ending.
it's a good ending. She thought Ralph was the mailman because he kept showing up with, I think she was, 5 or 6. He was showing up with letters. Gives us to your father,
Yeah,
And so someone sat her down and said, "Okay, Just
I hate to
work
ruin
with me here. But there was another videotape.
Act 2.
She said, would you like to see the whole thing?
Oh, boy.
And she was like, okay. And she did. And they said, what'd you think? And she said, I don't think it was that much better.
And she's writing for you. She's one of the writers now, right?
I just love that. Julie Andrews. Yep, gone.
Yeah, back to the convent.
Yeah, who needs Edelweiss, really, when you think
Right.
about it?
Who needs Hitler?
Yeah.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we're out of
Pleasantry.
time. Tulis McCall, thank you so much.
Thank
Tell
you,
us again the
Tulis.
website.
I have 2 websites. One is called tulismccall.com, and the other one is called thefrontrowcenter.com.
Highly recommend.
a real perspective.
Yeah, how do
Yeah.
you describe it? You say honest and
Short, biased, and brief.
short bias.
Something like that.
There you go,
But
folks.
there have been times when you go, okay, so my top 10 worst shows have just been modified to make room for this, whatever
Wow.
it was.
You are a tough room.
Well, God, if you're sitting there, sometimes I'll be in a show and I'll be watching, and all of a sudden I'll discover I'm sitting there with my head in my elbow is crooked, and I'm just sitting there, and it happened. And then all of a sudden I'll go, wow, you're not very interested
This is
in
work.
this. Yeah, this is, like kids in a high school when they're going, yeah, and they're all tipped over and just holding their chin in their hand.
Yeah, my friend Jamie Alcroft said, you can't get sleep like that at home.
Listen, if I fall asleep, it's on them.
Yep.
I'm not. It's not my job to stay awake.
Well,
Now that's
note.
a slug line
Thank
for
you,
you.
Tulis.
Thank you,
so
Tulis.
much for joining us.
Okay.
Great
Well,
to see
Phil,
you
this
again.
is our first
This is our
foray.
wrap, right?
Yeah, in New York. We'll be back.
Yes, we definitely have to come back.
I'll be here.
All right, Tulis. Thank you so much.
And we'll know what kind of shows to watch because we'll read before we come back.
And you're listening to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. You can hear all these wonderful shows and others that we've done at sexyboomershow.com. We'll be back next week with another lucky participant.
Stay tuned.
Woo woo!